All right, it is great to be with you again. It has been a while. I've been on another one of my little hiatuses for whatever reason. It's just busy. I'm getting old. I have a lot of irons in the fire and not a lot of motivation sometimes, but we always seem to come back and we appreciate that. We appreciate your patience. Appreciate a lot of the comments. Yes, I am still alive. Haven't died yet. So I'm sure that's coming at some point, but hopefully not today. Anyway, good to be with you. I have a new setup tonight. Bought a new camera a little over a year ago. Haven't really used it for my YouTube videos. I haven't really put up that many YouTube videos, but I've put up some. But I haven't used the new camera or my new lighting. I have quite a bit of a video gear that I've invested in over the last year, not just for YouTube. Also make these stupid little mini movies about a dollar bill that's haunting me. Perhaps I'll share that with you sometime. There's about 7 or 8 episodes. It's a little bit off the chain. But anyway, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know what it's going to sound like. It may look terrible. It may sound terrible. Everything looks a little bit orange in my little preview over here that I have going. Maybe we can correct that with some color grading. But the studio, as I would like to call it, is a mess. It may not look like it from the view that you have, but believe me, it is in disarray. Let me show you a couple of pictures of what it looks like when it's not in disarray. There's that. Really nice. So I think we would just like to take a few minutes tonight and just share a few thoughts with you on kind of really, not really a top 10, but just top reasons why I think that I really never made it as a professional guitar player. That is to say, someone who was signed and had a deal and went on the road and all of that good stuff and had any type of level of notoriety. There's a lot of contributing factors to that, and we'd like to address those if we could. Now, there's 2 categories that we would like to use, and one of them we're not going to talk a little bit about, but I think it behooves us to mention it. And that would be there is the metaphysical reasons, and then there would be the non-metaphysical reasons. Perhaps there are some non-metaphysical reasons that I didn't make it as it is, or as some people would say. Now, the first metaphysical reason, and without apology, without regret, I'll say that it certainly seemed when I was in the heyday of playing guitar back, when you're young and you're 19, 20 years old and hair down the back, and I might show you a couple of pictures or something. It's kind of crazy to even think that that even existed. But I came to this point in my life, honestly, where it seemed like God had something different in store for me. And we're not going to get preachy or anything like that, but that is my experience, that He certainly intervened in my life. And I have absolutely zero regrets when it comes to that. And the Lord has been good to me, and He has blessed me. Despite my lack of effort sometimes. So that's the main reason, is the metaphysical one, if you will, is that it seems like perhaps God had something different in store for me, which is great. And then we can get into the non-metaphysical, for lack of a better phrase, reasons why I think that I didn't make it. Number one, I'm really just not that good. I can play a little bit, got a couple of licks and kind of probably gotten better over the last 20 years or so than I did in my first 20, which I guess is natural. But, when you're young and just on fire and all of this, you think you're going to take the world by the tail. The problem is there was a billion other guys that were doing it that all kind of looked the same and all kind of sounded the same. So really, I really wasn't that good. I was okay. Pretty strong representative, I guess, in my own local community amongst my peers. But there are some really good players out there. And, and I guess it's not always about being good. It's about writing a good song or being at the right place at the right time. But certainly in a lot of cases, not all of the cases out there, it does take some talent. And, in the big scheme of things, I'm probably just not really exceptional. I'm kind of run-of-the-mill in some ways. Like I said, I can play a few things, but whatever. Probably another reason is I don't know that I'm a prolific songwriter. I have written quite a few songs back in the day, wrote a lot of metal songs. Then some 20 years ago or so, worked on a project that was pretty interesting, a little bit different style than what I was used to, but I think some of the best stuff that I ever had written. And we'll give you a couple of samples here. Here's something that we wrote, I think about 20 years ago. Just play you probably 10 seconds or so, just the intro, let you know it's a little different. Here's something, I guess, back in the day. This is from the 80s, actually. I still have the cassette. And we did some recording, a little band that I was in called Riff Raff. Here was a cool riff. And here's another song. I believe this one's called Loud and Proud. Great. Simple riff, great tone, modified Marshall head, really just stuck a mic in front of the cabinet, 412 old Marshall cabinet. Head just sounded amazing. I believe I was running an Ibanez Super Metal pedal through it, double tracked the rhythm, huge, massive sound. Give this a listen. Nice. So anyway, I wasn't a prolific songwriter. I'm working on a project now with a friend of mine. Have been for about the last 2 or 3 years. That should be finished in about a year. Not really a metal album. It has a couple of songs that are really rocking. Have a few leads on there, but nothing crazy. It's going to burn the house down, but I think there's some great songs on it. We'll let you know more about that as that gets a little bit closer, and it's definitely getting closer. Then I think another reason that I really didn't make it was I only had 2 licks. I'll show you what I mean. I always say I only have 2 licks. Here they are. Okay, maybe 3 licks. Okay, maybe 4 licks. Okay, maybe it stands to reason I have a few licks. And then I guess maybe another reason that I didn't make it, or certainly glad that I did not make it, was that whole life on the road thing really did not appeal to me at all. Something about being in a little bus in this little, coffin space that you have to sleep in. I'm a little bit claustrophobic. That wouldn't have worked. I'm pretty squeamish about other people's driving, so I probably would have had to have been the bus driver. I never would have gotten any sleep. It would have been a problem. Plus, I probably would have been nervous driving the bus. So in that regard, that just really wouldn't have worked out. That whole lifestyle, honestly, just never really appealed to me, and it still doesn't. And so that's probably a good thing. I think maybe another reason is, and this isn't an essential quality, I think, to being successful as a guitar player. I think we've talked about this before to one degree or another, is I'm not a music theory guy. I know enough just to be dangerous. I know enough to be perceived as pretty stupid. It's funny, early on in the channel, I'd say, well, here's this goes from this to G sharp or A flat. And then someone would correct me and say, brother, that's G sharp, not A flat. And I'm like, yeah, isn't it the same thing? Well, no, not really. I guess it just depends on what key you're in or what direction you're going or whatever. See, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I know very little about music theory. I know some scales, relative minors, majors, blah, 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 just enough to be dangerous. If it's in the key of D, yeah, I can get there. If it's an E, yeah, I can get there. E minor, yep, I can get there. But I'm not one of those guys that's like, cooking pies and talking about the circle of fifths. I have no idea what that means. And I think probably another reason that I didn't make it was I'm just unoriginal. I play like either Vivian Campbell, George Lynch, or Yngwie, and it would have been nice to have my own style, I guess, but I was just such a carbon copy of everyone else that it made me a little bit generic. And, granted, there's some generic guys, it seemed like over the years they still have some longevity, but I don't know. I just wasn't really too super original. Now, maybe if I would have continued to have applied myself through the very late 80s and all the way through the 90s, maybe that would have changed. I would have listened. I really didn't get to string skipping because I got away from guitar for probably close to 10 years. And I believe I told the story that at one point, a guitar that I had, I opened the case, it had mold in it because it had not been played in so long. Yeah, I was just behind. I didn't realize that there's a thing called string skipping probably until, early 2000s. And at that point, you're 10, 15 years behind. And that's a lot to catch up with. So we were just unoriginal and behind. Another reason that I probably didn't make it, and maybe this would have increased and enriched my knowledge over the process of time, but you listen to these guys now and it's like, well, I have a certain type of a wood and we wanted to drop this one pickup in and I needed this type of metal for my frets or whatever it is, and tube biasing. I don't know the first thing about that. I barely know how to dial in a good tone, and I just kind of struggle just to play. So that whole thing, it seems like the whole world for guitar players that are successful is more than just playing the instrument. It's also about building that rig and building that sound and being into that technical stuff, which, I used to see the input jacks in the back of a speaker cabinet, and it would say 8 ohms, 4 ohms. I had no idea what that meant. As a matter of fact, I still don't. So I guess, that kind of contributes to another reason that I never really made it, is I'm just kind of stupid. Now, I do understand some entry-level things about quantum physics. I know my square root's up to 225. My spelling's pretty good. I have a pretty good vocabulary, but I'm just kind of stupid. Well, anyway, enough of that. So here we are, mediocre, unoriginal, unmotivated, not prolific as far as a songwriter. I don't understand music theory, so let's just improvise along with the backing track and let it take us out. Appreciate you watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I really do appreciate your patience, and I appreciate your attention to the channel. Hopefully, more content coming soon.